Hello, I'm William Perlmutter, a transatlantic master's student at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and today I'm joined by Professor Gary Marks from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Today you'll be speaking about multi-level governance, the European Union, and the Euro crisis. How are you doing, Professor Marks?
Fine, thank you very much.
So basically, from your research perspective, why is it important for Americans to pay attention to the European Union crisis?
That's a good question, and it's a good question for the audience. There's an obvious answer to that question, and it has to do with the deep, manifold interpenetration, the sensitive interdependence of the United States and Europe. I read recently that European companies create about 7 million jobs in the United States of America. And when I was director of the UNC Center here, I used to tell the local legislators and anybody who could provide us with some funding that European companies actually provide around 200,000 jobs in North Carolina. So that's the obvious kind of connection between the two, why the Euro crisis really makes a difference. And interestingly, in the current presidential election, one of the main concerns, one of the big possible shocks in that election was a Euro crisis, a Euro that would kind of go down the drain in the context of the election, and that certainly was perceived to hurt Obama if that happened. And thankfully it is not going to happen, because the European Central Bank has stepped into the void and provided some serious backing for the Euro. But there are some deeper and I think really more interesting reasons why Americans should care about what happens in Europe. Europe is an instance of sensitive interdependence, reciprocal interdependence among those countries. And the European Union is a fascinating, and I think the world's most important experiment in trying to set up some frame of conscious decision making so that the problems that are generated out of interdependence can be dealt with in a sensible, even sometimes in a rational way. And what Europe really indicates is that it's not a matter of the perception of the solutions, because people can figure out what the right solutions are, but rather, can we actually carry out those policies that are necessary, given the political constraints? And the political constraints in Europe are not that dissimilar from the political constraints in the United States when it comes to global issues of global interdependence, like global warming. And the issue there is, to what extent are individuals and the politicians who represent them, to what extent are they willing to create public goods, even if it means that there's going to be some local costs? To what extent are people willing to perceive their identity, their communities, in ways that are encompassing rather than narrow and exclusive? That's the real question, I think, facing Europe today. And it's also a question that faces the United States today and in the future.
Well, thank you, Professor Marks. If you would like to view Professor Marks' full lecture, please subscribe to the Center's YouTube channel or check next week back at the link below.